Clara left the office that day with a mix of relief and fear. She had no clear plan, only a determination not to let Martin or anyone else make her feel small again. Her friends warned her it wouldn't be easy, but she knew staying in a place that didn't value her was worse than uncertainty. She spent the next few days thinking about what she really wanted. Clara had always dreamed of running her own business, but fear and comfort had held her back. Now, it felt like the right moment. She didn't want just to survive, she wanted to succeed on her own terms. She started researching everything she needed: clients, contracts, and strategies. Every detail mattered because failure wasn't an option. Clara found a small, inexpensive office space in a quiet part of the city. It wasn't fancy, but it was hers. She decorated it with simple things that made her feel motivated: a vision board with goals, a whiteboard with plans, and even a small plant she named Daisy. Every morning, seeing the little space reminded her why she had taken this risk. She reached out to some past clients who had always praised her work. At first, it was slow. Some were hesitant to move from their current agencies, and a few ignored her messages entirely. Each rejection stung, but Clara refused to give up. She reminded herself that persistence was stronger than luck. Each no brought her closer to the right yes. Meanwhile, Martin's firm continued as usual. Clara didn't watch or wait for updates, she focused entirely on building her own path. She knew that proving herself wasn't about showing them, it was about proving to herself that she could do it. Some nights were exhausting. She worked long hours, juggling phone calls, emails, and presentations, often forgetting to eat. But every small success, every positive response from a client, gave her energy to push further. Slowly, Clara started noticing changes. One client who had been loyal to Martin's firm for years agreed to try her services. Another contacted her after hearing a recommendation from a trusted colleague. Word of mouth began spreading quietly. She stayed humble, letting her work speak for her. Clara knew the difference between arrogance and confidence. She chose confidence. Even though she had left a toxic environment, Clara sometimes felt loneliness. Starting from nothing was isolating, and she missed the daily interactions, even the small annoyances at her old office. But each challenge reminded her why she had chosen this path. She wasn't running away, she was moving forward. By the end of her first few months, Clara realized something important: success didn't need validation from those who doubted her. Her skills, her ideas, and her persistence were enough. Every small achievement built her confidence, and slowly, the fear she felt on her first day of quitting began to fade. She was no longer just Clara Bennett the employee, she was Clara Bennett the entrepreneur, someone who refused to settle, someone determined to rise on her own. Clara thought she could trust Jared Lawson. They had spent years working together, sharing ideas, and supporting each other through tough projects. She had even confided in him about her frustrations with Martin, believing he understood her struggles. But she was wrong. As soon as Clara handed in her resignation, she started hearing things. Quiet whispers from people in the office, subtle comments from clients, and messages that hinted someone was spreading lies about her. At first, she tried to ignore it, thinking it would fade. But the truth became impossible to miss: Jared had joined Martin in undermining her. He told coworkers she was leaving because she couldn't handle the pressure, painting her decision as petty and impulsive. It hurt. Not because she feared what others thought, but because someone she considered a friend had betrayed her. Every success she had achieved at the firm, every long night and sacrifice, suddenly felt questioned by the person she trusted most. She remembered the countless times Jared had praised her work, laughed with her during stressful days, and promised to have her back. Those memories now felt like lies. The sting of betrayal lit a fire inside her. Clara realized that proving herself wasn't just about leaving Martin's firm, it was about showing Jared and Martin exactly what they had lost. She didn't want revenge in a cruel way, but she wanted her success to speak louder than their lies. She wanted her talent and determination to be undeniable. Instead of dwelling on anger, Clara turned her hurt into focus. She wrote down a list of clients she had connections with, people who had seen her work firsthand and respected her professionalism. She reached out to them carefully, ensuring they understood her goals and her commitment. Each call, each meeting became more than just business. It was her proving that skill and integrity mattered more than gossip. Even outside of work, she found herself thinking about how to protect her reputation and grow her new venture. She researched strategies, sharpened her skills, and pushed herself to learn more every day. The memory of Jared spreading rumors was never far from her mind, but instead of breaking her, it motivated her to be better, faster, and stronger. Clara also learned an important lesson about trust. Not everyone who smiles at you is truly on your side. Some people will support you publicly while undermining you privately. But that knowledge gave her power. It allowed her to focus only on those who genuinely valued her work and character. Over time, Clara started noticing small victories. Clients she had worked with before reached out, impressed by her courage and professionalism. They respected her decision to leave a toxic environment and admired her determination to start fresh. Each acknowledgement, each new opportunity, reminded Clara that her worth wasn't defined by those who betrayed her, but by her own actions and talent. By the end of that challenging period, Clara felt a shift inside her. She was no longer just angry or hurt. She was determined, focused, and ready to prove to the world, and to Jared and Martin, that betrayal could never stop someone who refused to give up on themselves. Clara knew that starting her own agency would not be easy, but she felt ready. She had her savings, her skills, and a clear vision of what she wanted to achieve. She found a small office space in a quiet building. It wasn't fancy, but it was enough for her to set up a desk, a few chairs, and a place to meet clients. To her, it symbolized freedom to make her own decisions and build something meaningful. She began reaching out to past clients. Many were hesitant at first. They had worked with larger firms before and didn't fully trust a small, new agency. But Clara had a plan. She reminded them of the projects they had done together in the past, showing the results she had achieved. She offered solutions that bigger agencies couldn't give because they were too focused on quantity instead of quality. Slowly, one client at a time, they began saying yes. Clara worked harder than she ever had. Every day, she was the one answering emails, making calls, preparing presentations, and creating marketing plans. Nights were long, and weekends disappeared, but each effort felt worth it. She didn't worry about what Martin or Jared thought. She focused on her work and her clients, letting her results prove her worth without saying a single word. She also took care to keep her plans private. Only a few trusted friends knew what she was doing. Clara understood that boasting or announcing her goals would only give doubters a chance to talk or interfere. She wanted her success to be undeniable, built quietly and solidly. As weeks passed, her agency started to grow. One small client turned into a bigger project. Another client referred her to someone else who needed marketing services. Each new opportunity gave Clara more confidence, proving that leaving her old job had been the right decision. She was no longer dependent on Martin's approval or validation. She was creating her own path, and the results spoke louder than any criticism. Clara also began to notice a personal change. She felt stronger, more in control of her life. The fear she had felt when leaving her old job had faded, replaced by determination and purpose. She realized she had the ability to handle challenges on her own, without relying on anyone who doubted her. Even in small victories, Clara found lessons. Every difficult client, every late-night project, and every unexpected problem taught her something new about running a business. She learned to adapt quickly, make decisions under pressure, and trust her instincts. Each lesson made her more capable and more confident in her abilities. By the end of the first few months, Clara's agency had a small but loyal group of clients. She was slowly building a reputation for quality and dedication. Her work was gaining recognition, quietly but surely, and her determination to succeed without compromise was beginning to show results. She felt proud, not just of what she had achieved, but of the person she had become, resilient, focused, and unstoppable. Clara quickly realized that starting her own agency was harder than she had imagined. Some days, it felt like the world was against her. Clients didn't respond, proposals were rejected, and unexpected expenses piled up. She had to learn how to manage every part of a business, finances, contracts, marketing, on her own. It was exhausting, both physically and mentally. There were nights when she sat at her desk, staring at her laptop, wondering if she had made the right choice. Leaving Martin's firm had been bold, but the uncertainty of running her own business weighed heavily. She worried about bills, about failing her clients, and about whether anyone would ever take her seriously outside of her old office. Self-doubt crept in, whispering that maybe she should have stayed where it was safe. But every time Clara felt discouraged, she remembered the moments that had driven her away. Martin's dismissive smirk as he denied her raise, the way he took credit for her work, and Jared's betrayal, they fueled her determination. Each memory became a quiet reminder, she would not let anyone's arrogance or lies define her. She wanted to prove, not to them, but to herself, that she could rise despite the setbacks. Clara learned quickly that failure was part of the process. One client she thought would be easy turned out to be extremely demanding, rejecting multiple drafts before accepting her plan. Another potential deal fell through at the last moment. Each disappointment stung, but instead of quitting, she analyzed what went wrong and improved her approach. Mistakes became lessons. The long hours also tested her physically. Clara often skipped meals, worked through nights, and even missed simple social events. She felt isolated, carrying the weight of her dreams alone. But she reminded herself that sacrifices were temporary, success was permanent. Every step she took, even the smallest, was progress toward her goals. Over time, her efforts began to pay off. A small client who had initially been unsure of her agency became a loyal supporter and even referred another project. Each win, no matter how minor, lifted her spirits and reinforced her belief that she was on the right path. She learned to celebrate small victories, using them as fuel to push through the difficult days. Clara also developed a new kind of resilience. She stopped worrying about what others thought and focused entirely on her own growth. She discovered an inner strength she hadn't realized she had, the ability to endure setbacks, remain disciplined, and keep moving forward even when everything seemed uncertain. By the end of these early struggles, Clara's confidence had begun to grow alongside her agency. The challenges no longer intimidated her, they sharpened her. She realized that each obstacle was an opportunity to prove her dedication and skill. The fire that Martin and Jared had unknowingly lit inside her was now a constant source of motivation, pushing her toward the success she had always known she deserved. After months of hard work and late nights, Clara finally got a breakthrough. One of the city's biggest companies, which Martin's firm had failed to impress, agreed to meet with her. She prepared for days, studying their business, creating a detailed marketing plan, and rehearsing every point she wanted to present. She knew this could change everything. The meeting went better than she imagined. Clara spoke confidently, showing her knowledge, creativity, and dedication. The client was impressed not only with her ideas but with the personal attention she offered, something a large firm could never give. By the end of the week, they signed a contract with her agency. It was a huge deal, one that put her on the map almost instantly. Word spread quickly. People in the marketing world started talking about Clara Bennett, the entrepreneur who had just landed a client Martin's firm couldn't handle. Her name began circulating quietly at first, in conversations at conferences, in passing mentions during meetings, and in recommendations between professionals. Each time she heard her name spoken with respect, Clara felt a surge of pride. Meanwhile, Martin caught wind of it. He scoffed when he heard she had secured the account. To him, it was just a stroke of luck, a temporary success that wouldn't last. Jared, on the other hand, looked uneasy. He had underestimated Clara from the beginning, assuming she couldn't thrive without the firm's resources. Now, the success she had built on her own started to make him doubt his judgment. Clara, however, didn't let their opinions distract her. She knew better than to celebrate too early. This was an important step, but not the finish line. She used the victory as motivation to push harder, to show that her agency could handle more big clients and bigger challenges. Every meeting, every campaign, became a chance to prove her ability and reinforce her growing reputation. She also noticed a change in her confidence. Before this, every success felt fragile, like it could vanish at any moment. Now, landing this client made her feel capable of handling even greater responsibilities. She realized that her skill, persistence, and careful planning had earned her this opportunity, not luck. She began trusting herself more, relying on her instincts, and taking calculated risks to grow further. This first major client also brought new opportunities. Other businesses that had previously ignored her now reached out for consultations. Referrals began to trickle in, each one adding to the momentum. Clara remained focused, making sure every project delivered results, knowing that her reputation depended on consistent excellence. For the first time since leaving Martin's firm, Clara felt a sense of triumph. Not only had she succeeded where they had failed, but she had done it on her own terms. The sting of past betrayal and doubt was still there, but it no longer controlled her. Instead, it became the quiet fuel driving her toward even greater accomplishments. She knew this was only the beginning of a journey that would prove her worth, and one day, make those who doubted her pay attention. Clara had been careful to focus on her work, but it was impossible to avoid noticing Martin's attempts to undermine her. At a business networking event, she overheard him speaking to colleagues, claiming her success was nothing more than perfect timing and luck. He dismissed her achievements, acting as if all the effort and strategy she had poured into her agency didn't matter. Jared, who had once pretended to support her, began noticing the shift too. He saw how quickly Clara's reputation was growing and how clients were praising her personally. For the first time, he realized she didn't need him or Martin to succeed. Her agency was thriving purely because of her talent, hard work, and dedication. He had underestimated her completely, and the realization made him uneasy. Clara, however, didn't respond to Martin's comments. She knew that arguing or defending herself would give him the attention he craved. Instead, she let her results speak. Each successful campaign, each satisfied client, and each new contract became a silent answer to their doubts. People began to notice that her achievements were real, consistent, and independent. At another industry meeting, Martin tried again, casually belittling her in front of a group of executives. She just got lucky with a few big clients, he said, smirking. But the executives had already heard of Clara's work and respected her professionalism. They politely disagreed, praising her attention to detail and creativity. Martin's attempt to diminish her only highlighted his arrogance and lack of understanding. Clara saw the irony in it. While Martin and Jared clung to their outdated methods and false confidence, she was building something genuine. Her agency's growth wasn't sudden or accidental, it was the result of careful planning, resilience, and the ability to adapt to challenges. The contrast between her quiet strength and their empty boasting became more obvious with every new success. Even in casual conversations, people began sharing stories of how Clara had turned struggling campaigns into profitable projects, often where Martin's firm had failed. Her name started carrying weight, not because she talked about herself, but because her work did the talking for her. Every campaign she completed, every client she impressed, chipped away at the arrogance Martin and Jared had relied on to feel secure. This period also reinforced Clara's confidence. She realized that those who tried to undermine her were doing so because they felt threatened. Their hypocrisy was evident, they claimed superiority while struggling to produce meaningful results themselves. Recognizing this allowed her to remain calm, focused, and even more determined to grow. By the end of this stage, Clara's agency had earned a reputation for reliability and excellence. Martin and Jared's attempts to belittle her only drew attention to their weaknesses. Her consistent achievements exposed their hypocrisy without her ever needing to confront them directly. She was learning that success didn't require proving anything through confrontation, it required patience, skill, and letting others' words fade against the reality of results. Clara had been tracking a citywide marketing contract for months. It was one of the largest and most important opportunities in the area, one that Martin's firm had tried and failed to secure multiple times. To everyone else, it seemed impossible for a small agency like hers to compete. But Clara saw a chance, not just to win the contract, but to show that skill and strategy mattered more than size and connections. She spent weeks preparing, analyzing every detail about the client's needs and weaknesses in Martin's previous proposals. She created a plan that was not only innovative but practical, showing exactly how her agency could deliver results that no one else could. She anticipated questions, challenges, and even the arguments Martin's team might make. Every point was designed to demonstrate her expertise while subtly exposing the limitations of her competitors. When Clara met with the client, she remained calm and confident. She didn't boast, and she didn't attack anyone directly. Instead, she presented clear ideas, backed by data and examples, and highlighted new strategies that showed real innovation. She answered every question thoroughly, leaving no room for doubt. The client was impressed, not just by the plan itself, but by Clara's professionalism and insight. By the end of the meeting, the client made a decision that surprised no one who had been following Clara's work closely. They awarded the contract to her agency. It was a massive victory, one that brought immediate recognition and respect from people in the industry. Her small agency had outperformed a much larger, established firm, and it was a turning point in her career. Word of the win reached Martin and Jared quickly. Martin couldn't hide his shock. He had assumed that Clara's previous successes were flukes, temporary moments of luck. Now, faced with a major contract that he had chased and failed to win, he was speechless. Jared, too, felt a sting of disbelief. He had watched Clara grow quietly, never thinking she could truly surpass them. And now she had. Clara didn't gloat. She didn't need to. Her victory spoke for itself. The quiet success she had built over months of hard work and perseverance was louder than any argument or insult Martin or Jared could make. She knew that showing results was far more powerful than trying to prove anything with words. This strategic win also gave Clara's agency momentum. Clients who had been hesitant before now reached out, impressed by her ability to secure such a significant project. Partnerships, collaborations, and referrals began to increase, all because Clara had demonstrated that she could succeed where others had failed. Clara felt a mix of satisfaction and focus. This was not the end, but a confirmation that she was on the right path. Martin and Jared's arrogance and doubt had fueled her determination, and now she had turned it into tangible results. Every challenge, every late night, every obstacle she had faced led to this moment. By winning this contract, Clara solidified her reputation as a professional who could deliver results against all odds. She didn't need recognition from those who doubted her, her work had already done that. The strategic win was proof that dedication, intelligence, and quiet persistence could overcome any obstacle, even the arrogance of those who once tried to hold her back. A few months after her big citywide win, Clara attended a professional networking event in downtown Chicago. The room was full of industry leaders, competitors, and potential clients. She felt confident walking in, carrying herself with a calm assurance she hadn't felt in years. Her agency was growing steadily, her reputation solid, and she knew she had earned every bit of her success. As she was speaking with a small group of clients, she noticed Martin across the room. He saw her too. He approached, trying to put on a friendly smile, acting as if nothing had happened. "Clara," he said, extending his hand. "It's good to see you doing well." Clara shook his hand politely, her smile measured but genuine. Inside, she felt a rush of emotions, memories of being dismissed, ignored, and undermined by him over the years. But she didn't let anger or bitterness show. She had learned that triumph didn't require confrontation. Her quiet confidence spoke louder than any words she could have said. Martin tried to make small talk, commenting on the challenges of the industry and asking vague questions about her work. Clara answered politely, giving brief but professional responses. She felt no need to explain herself, justify her decisions, or prove her success. The truth was clear to everyone paying attention: she had built something meaningful, something he could neither replicate nor control. Jared was there too, standing a few feet away. Clara caught his eye for a moment. He looked uneasy, and she could sense the realization that she had grown far beyond what either of them had imagined. They had doubted her, dismissed her, and even betrayed her, but now she was not only surviving, she was thriving. For Clara, this encounter was less about revenge and more about closure. She had carried the sting of betrayal for years, but her achievements had healed it. The anger she once felt at being undervalued had transformed into a quiet satisfaction. Every client, every project, every milestone she reached reinforced that she had made the right choice by walking away. Throughout the event, Clara moved with ease, talking confidently to peers, sharing ideas, and enjoying the recognition she had earned. She realized she no longer needed validation from Martin, Jared, or anyone who had doubted her. Their opinions were irrelevant. Her life and career were her own, and she had proven to herself what she was capable of. By the end of the evening, Clara left the event with a sense of peace. She had faced the people who had once undermined her, and she had done so without confrontation, without gloating, and without lowering herself to their level. Her calm demeanor, her poise, and her success said it all. Walking to her car, Clara reflected on how far she had come. The betrayal that had once hurt so deeply now felt like a distant memory, replaced by pride, confidence, and clarity. She understood that true power didn't come from punishing others, it came from building your own life, reaching your own goals, and moving forward without needing approval. For the first time, she felt fully free. Clara's agency continued to grow steadily. She had built a solid reputation, and clients came to her not just for results, but because they trusted her integrity and vision. The small team she had started with expanded into a supportive group of professionals who shared her values and dedication. Each person she hired was chosen carefully, someone who valued collaboration and respect, unlike the toxic environment she had left behind. She made sure her office culture was different. Long hours were expected, but they came with encouragement, recognition, and teamwork. Mistakes were treated as opportunities to learn, not reasons to criticize. Clara wanted her team to feel safe to take risks and innovate, something she had never experienced under Martin's leadership. Watching her team succeed, grow, and feel confident gave her a deep sense of satisfaction. Clara also began mentoring young marketers in the city. She hosted small workshops and one-on-one sessions, sharing her knowledge about marketing strategies, client management, and running a business with integrity. She emphasized lessons she had learned the hard way: always value yourself, never allow someone else's ego to dictate your worth, and perseverance will always pay off. Seeing the next generation learn and thrive under her guidance reminded her of how far she had come. Outside of work, Clara focused on her personal life as well. She spent more time with friends and family, enjoying moments that she had often neglected during long nights at her old job. She traveled when she could, explored new hobbies, and allowed herself small joys without guilt. For the first time, she felt a balance between her career and personal life, a freedom she hadn't imagined possible before leaving Martin's firm. Her success also gave her a new perspective on challenges and setbacks. She no longer feared obstacles, she welcomed them as opportunities to grow. Difficult clients, tight deadlines, and unexpected problems became chances to prove her capability, both to herself and to the people around her. Every challenge she overcame reinforced her confidence and made her more resilient. Clara noticed that her relationship with money and security had changed too. She no longer worried constantly about survival. Instead, she focused on strategic growth, investments, and creating opportunities for her agency to expand further. Her life felt abundant, not just financially but emotionally and mentally. She had built a life that reflected her values and ambitions. Looking back, Clara realized she had achieved more than just professional success. She had created independence, self-respect, and fulfillment, things that no boss or colleague could ever take away. Her journey from betrayal and doubt to growth and achievement gave her perspective, patience, and a quiet strength. Clara's life was now full, meaningful, and truly her own. She understood that the hardest battles often lead to the greatest rewards. She was not only a successful entrepreneur but a mentor, a leader, and an example of what perseverance, integrity, and self-belief could accomplish. Martin and Jared had both watched Clara's rise quietly, each in their own way. Martin still ran his firm, but his projects lacked the innovation and personal touch that Clara had mastered. He saw clients shifting toward her agency, impressed by her dedication and results, and it stung more than he wanted to admit. Jared noticed too, realizing that Clara had built something solid without relying on anyone or playing office politics. Their attempts to belittle or undermine her now seemed meaningless. Clara, however, never focused on them. She didn't need to gloat or prove herself again, her life and her agency were proof enough. Her revenge wasn't about revenge in the traditional sense, it was quiet, lasting, and undeniable. Every successful campaign, every loyal client, and every opportunity she had created stood as a reminder of what they had missed by underestimating her. She continued to push her agency forward, exploring new markets, expanding services, and mentoring her team. Her focus remained on growth and excellence, not on winning personal battles. Clara understood that real power came from control over her own life and choices, not from humiliating others. She had learned the hard way that trying to hurt those who hurt you often wastes energy that could be better used to build your own future. Over time, Clara's reputation became widely recognized. She was invited to speak at conferences, consulted by businesses in need of marketing expertise, and admired for the way she led her team with fairness and respect. Martin and Jared could only watch from the sidelines as she thrived, unable to compete with the combination of skill, discipline, and confidence she had cultivated. Their influence over her life had vanished completely. Clara also noticed how much her mindset had changed. Where she had once felt doubt, fear, and frustration, she now felt clarity, focus, and calm determination. Success no longer felt like proving herself to anyone, it felt like living in alignment with her values, making choices she could be proud of, and experiencing the freedom to create the life she wanted. The most satisfying part of all was how natural it felt. There was no drama, no confrontation, no need for vindictive actions. Her life itself, thriving and full, was the ultimate statement. Martin and Jared's inability to affect her only reinforced the lessons she had learned. Self-respect, perseverance, and independence always matter more than seeking approval or reacting to toxicity. Looking forward, Clara felt excitement instead of fear. She knew challenges would continue, but she trusted herself to handle them. She had built resilience, confidence, and a life that couldn't be shaken by others' opinions or actions. The betrayal and doubt of the past were nothing more than stepping stones to a future that she fully owned. In the end, Clara's story was not just about success in business, it was about triumph over toxic people, reclaiming her power, and living a life of integrity. Her ultimate revenge was simple. She had walked away, stayed true to herself, and created a reality that was better than anything Martin or Jared could have imagined. She smiled, knowing that this quiet, unstoppable life was the most powerful victory of all.